Hello students, today I am going to discuss about John Dewey 1859 to 1952, but before beginning with discussing about John Dewey's philosophy in education, I would like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Pushpa Kumari, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, SPM College for Women, University of Delhi. This is 8th module of your course BESc 131 Education, Concept, Nature and Philosophies. In this module, we are going to discuss about contribution of Western philosophers like Plato, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, John Dewey and Immanuel Kant, and in this lecture we will discuss about the philosophical thoughts of John Dewey. After this lecture, the learning outcomes of this lecture is to evaluate and relate the educational thoughts and practices of John Dewey in present educational system, apply educational thoughts of John Dewey into various practices of education. Now, the contents of this lesson are arranged as: first we will discuss about the life sketch of John Dewey, then the concept of education given by Dewey, aims of education, process of education, curriculum according to John Dewey, the teaching methods, role of teacher, discipline and relevance of his philosophical ideas and thoughts to present education system. To discuss about the life sketch of John Dewey, John Dewey was born on October 20th, 1859 in Burlington, Vermont. In 1879, he graduated from Vermont University. He obtained the degree of PhD in philosophy from Johns Hopkins University, and in 1884 he began his teaching career at the University of Michigan. In 1894 he joined University of Chicago as head of its newly created Department of Philosophy, Psychology and Pedagogy. John Dewey is considered as a great philosopher, thinker and educationist of the modern era. He is one of the best known philosophers in the United States. His philosophy has been mainly referred to as pragmatism. Pragmatism is learning by doing. The philosophy of pragmatism is based on learning by doing, on hands-on experience, experimentation. He has been one of the most influential thinkers of modern times, whose educational ideas have left a long-lasting impact on contemporary educational thinking and practice. Now, some of the famous educational works of John Dewey are The School and Society, The Child and the Curriculum, How We Think, Democracy and Education. From these famous educational works of John Dewey, you can relate that he is explaining about, his ideas are about school and society, about the child and the curriculum and how we think. He also talks about the role of democracy in education. We can see some of the more famous works of his are Interest and Effort in Education, Experience and Education, Reconstruction in Philosophy and The Quest for Certainty, a study of the relation of knowledge and action. Now, coming to the concept of education, according to John Dewey, education is the development of all those capacities in the individual which will enable him or her to control his environment and fulfill his or her responsibilities. John Dewey also says that education is not preparing for our life, but education is life itself. Again, defining education, John Dewey says, education is the continuous reconstruction of experiences. Education is also a social need. It is progressive in nature, both for the individual and the society. Like if the individual progresses, then obviously the society will also progress. It is a bipolar process having two aspects. One is psychological and the other is social, and both are equally important. The psychological aspect, it takes care of the child's interest, his or her capabilities, the talents and the aptitude, and the social aspect, it takes care of the social environment of the child in which he or she has taken birth and is brought up. Education is for the child and not the vice versa. That is, child is not for education. The child is not a tabula rasa, like clean slate. Tabula rasa is known as clean slate on which anything can be written. Child, they are also born with certain innate powers and capabilities which can be developed in the right direction, and education plays a very important role in developing these innate powers and capabilities. Education develops the child in such a way that she or he is able to find values and truth in every activity and experiment done at all levels, and is able to face the future challenges with confidence. So we can see from the concept of education given by John Dewey that education plays such an important role in an overall development of the child. Now moving on to the aims of education given by John Dewey. According to Dewey, the idea develops after an experience or an action that knowledge is true, which is gained by direct experience. When an individual performs an actions or do something and face challenges and difficulties in performing it, she or he thinks how to overcome this. Thus, thoughts and ideas are produced and actions are performed further. So Dewey calls these thoughts as education. So we can analyze from this that when given a situation or a difficulty or a challenge, we think, we plan and we act how to go for it. Now, moving on to the next aim, Dewey says that philosophy as a product of education. He says that philosophy is the theory of education in its most general phases. Education means life. Education is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. Only theoretical knowledge is not useful. Knowledge which can be used in life should be given more importance. This point is very important, that when he says that we should not give only theoretical or subjective knowledge, the knowledge should be based on practical experiences of the child. So, behavioral and vocational skills are more important. Learning by doing is important so that children get direct experiences through it. There should not be a distance gap between future and school life. The real life experiences should be provided in the school. Means whatever we teach at school or whatever the curriculum is at school and the real life experiences of the child which he lives should be same. Education is a miniature society. Development of an individual takes place in the society. He or she gets many experiences while living in the society. So, the education of the child must take place through society. So according to him, education is the social continuity of life. Individual and society, they are dependent on each other. So development of both is necessary. So from this aim of education, you can relate that how education is related to society. Again, now education is the process of reconstruction of experiences. Child gets true knowledge by experience. Slowly, as his or her experiences increase, his or her knowledge also increases. On the basis of experiences, there is change in the behavior of the child, and on the basis of that, he or she gains more experience. In this way, there is reconstruction of experiences taking place continuously. Means throughout life, we experience every day, every moment, we learn something, we are educating ourselves. Now, we will discuss about the process of education given by John Dewey. Dewey emphasized to provide education through activities and not through theoretical subjects. The experiences one gets in life, they should not be subject specific. So knowledge should be associated with actions and experiences, and it should be in accordance with the direct experiences and fulfillment of social needs. What he says is, we have to experience. That means the activity is to be performed. Then we need to share those reactions or observations. We need to process it, means we need to analyze the experience. Then we need to generalize. That means we need to connect the experience to the real world outside. And then we need to apply what we have learned to a similar or a direct situation for practice. Next, we move on to the curriculum as suggested by John Dewey. According to Dewey, the curriculum should be prepared according to child's need, interests, aptitude and nature of social needs. It should be flexible, dynamic and change as per the need of time and situation. So, from this we can conclude that he focuses on child-centered education and not on teacher-centered education, where most of the focus is on child's need, his or her interest, the aptitude and the nature of social needs. The formation of educational curricula has been based on following principles. Principle of utility, that means the curriculum should have the utilitarian aims. Principle of flexibility, the curriculum should be flexible. Principle of child's experience, the curriculum should relate to child experiences. Principle of community centeredness and child centeredness, means the need of the child and the community should be addressed. And the principle of correlation, that means the subject should not be taught independent, but they should be interrelated. Dewey has divided his plan of education into 3 different stages. These are the play period. The play period is for the children of 4 to 8 years, and it was specially dedicated for teaching in activity-based methods. You can relate that children of 4 to 8 years, they mostly learn by activity-based learning. So this was the play period. The second is period of spontaneous attention. It is for the age group of 8 to 12 years, and it was dedicated for independently solving problems of life. And the third period was period of reflective action for the age group of 12 to 18 years. It was referred for come out as responsible citizen of the society. Now, moving on to the methods of teaching or the teaching methods given by John Dewey. For strengthening experiences of the child and involving them with varieties of learning activities, Dewey suggested problem solving method and learning by doing. This is all based on experimentation, where a child needs to work hands-on, experimenting with things in real life situation, problem solving, project based method, field based activity method, which involves learners to do things hands-on. Now, role of teacher according to Dewey. According to Dewey, teacher is a friend, a philosopher and a guide. She or he is the major agent for the socialization of the child. She or he is the representative of the society. So from this we conclude that Dewey has assigned a very important role to the teacher when he says that she or he is the representative of the society, is a major agent for the socialization of the child. She or he has right to motivate and inspire the child, but not to burden the child with his or her own thoughts. A teacher's role is to prepare students for living in the society effectively. A teacher must have knowledge about the interest of child, changing social environment and to guide children. So if we want to pursue our students in right direction, be a role model for them, we should have the knowledge of our learners, we should know their interest, their capabilities, their ability, and accordingly we can guide them. Now about the discipline, Dewey gave importance to social discipline, which is based on child's nature, his or her actions and social answerability. According to him, discipline is a mental state to develop social activities which are necessary. He is not in the favor of artificial or unnatural enforcement of discipline by creating fear in the child. He considers self-discipline is more important than externally forced discipline. It can be taught through assigned social responsibility. So from this discussion we can conclude that Dewey gave importance to self-discipline rather than externally forced discipline, and it can be achieved through practice. Now we will discuss the relevance of John Dewey's ideas and philosophies to the present education system. Influence on the aims of education. Nowadays, one of the important aims of education is teaching of democratic values. Dewey insisted on developing social qualities in the child. In modern schools, in contemporary times, these aims of education has been accepted as valid because we want to teach children democratic values, how to live in a society with peace and harmony and in coordination with other citizens. Influence on teaching practices. Dewey's theory has an impact on variety of educational practices. He emphasized on providing individualized instructions. Individualized instruction is important because in inclusive classrooms we have variety of learners having different interest, abilities, capabilities. So individualized instruction should be given so that child learn at their own pace. Problem based and integrated learning, getting hands-on experiences, dialogic teaching and critical inquiry. Influence on curriculum, introduction to manual skill subjects into modern curricula. Special importance is now being attached to various kinds of games, objects, the use of certain tools and implements, etc. In selecting the subject to be taught, attention is now paid to the individual interest and abilities of the child. Earlier, the curriculum used to be teacher centric. It was all based on rote memorization, taking examinations, but now the focus is on learning by doing, including various kinds of activities, games, projects, etc. Influence on discipline, as we have already discussed that Dewey theorizing on the subject of discipline, now the student is entrusted with much of the work done in the school. In this manner, the students are trained in self-control and democratic citizenship. Means that we don't need an external force to make them disciplined, they will be self-disciplined. So these were the Dewey's thoughts on aims of education. We have tried to understand the concept of education given by him, the role of teacher, the curriculum, the methods of teaching, and also we have discussed the relevance into contemporary times. So there are now we will have few questions for practice. Now you can explain the concept of education according to John Dewey. What are the aims of education according to Dewey? Mention any 3 methods of teaching suggested by John Dewey, since we have discussed many methods of teaching suggested by John Dewey. What were John Dewey's view about teacher and their role in the classroom? Explain the principle of curriculum formation according to Dewey, and explain the relevance of Dewey's philosophy to present education system. Now, thank you, and we'll discuss the next philosopher in our next lecture.